Evening everyone, this is day 16 walkthrough and solution. So this is our stencil component around a 150 by 100 ellipse with a circular component with a polar array and then two mirrored features constructed from fillets and circles and an offset. So let's have a look at our components. So before we jump straight in, things to think about is we have 150 by 100, so the middle axis on the Y is obviously 50. 150, obviously 75 is like the center point, and some people from running the solution previously in this exercise is almost struggles to work out where the center circle is. Well, you have to remember that it's R38 away from this slot. This circle, if you imagine, rotates the whole way around. Okay, it actually sits on the edge of the center line, both X and Y, so essentially it's 38. So it's from the halfway point. So just some things to think about there using that kind of interpretation. So what I'm going to do, start drawing them in my template. Okay, straight into my construction layer using two X lines, one on 0, 0. Okay, and I'm going to do offset then 100 from the Y. And then 150 across the X. So that's sort of, our oval will fit in that shape. Back into offset, obviously want to go run the center line, so 50. Okay, and then 75. Like so, and you could, if you wanted to, cross them into center lines. It's entirely up to your choice. And then also now we're going to specify another distance. So we need this to be 38, and that's the 38 which is going to be part of our circle, so I'll put that in blue. So the first thing to do is to put your ellipse in, so ellipse center. So from the center, specify the outer axis, and also we know that it's half of 100, which means 50. I'm going to convert that into my drawing, so that's my ellipse in straight away. And then it's just about breaking down how you want to work this. There's no real set way you can start on these mirrored features, or you can start on the cog. Now, from previous experience, if you do the cog first, when you've got to do lots of trimming for this feature, it does overlap. So I'm going to start with the two mirrored components first. So there's an offset of 12, like so. Okay, now I don't actually need the second half of this component, so all I'm going to do is just do a quick trim down one side like so, and then what I can do is just then delete that component away. So I'm just working on this quadrant only. So from the circle, I'm going to put the radius in, so I know the center point's there and it's R38. Change that also to my drawing, and again I only actually need the one quadrant, so I'm going to break away that quadrant, and what I can now do is just select the rest of it and then just delete the element, keep it nice and clean. And last off, there is a line that runs from this point to this point, which is offset of 6 to build the 12 gap. So we're going to put that in 6. Okay, I'm just going to delete that original line. And now what I can do is use the fillet tool, radius 6. I can now start to build my component. And if I press M for multiple, I wouldn't have to keep selecting it. But now what I've got to do is just convert everything to my drawing layer. Like so. Let's go. So that's like the first kind of component. Now all this is tangentially referenced, and then it's sort of matching this top component. So obviously, because I've done the exercise and know the digits, you might want to put this on the second screen and work through it in a methodical way. So now I'm going to mirror this one. I'm going to mirror around my center line. Okay, choose my center point, and then choose the second point on the same axis. I'm going to choose the end so it locks or something. Keep the original source. I'm not going to raise. There's the second part of my component now in. Next part is then we're going to work on the 44 diameter and the 50 from the same center point. So circle here. Okay, I'm going to just use one line and then another. Probably thinking, well, why haven't you put any dimensions in? So I'm just going to show you another way. So if you right click properties, I'm going to put diameter 44. Okay, then I'm going to choose my next one, diameter. Oh, make sure you don't choose 2. Choose the one, diameter 50. Just saves you having to go in and always be working out what half and the radius is. Sometimes it is a bit more complicated. So still in my construction. What I'm going to do now is just draw a line to the edge. Offset that one 4 because I've got to build my 8. So what I'm doing now is I'm building this kind of section here, which is 8. I can then use the trim tool, do top and bottom, choose that into my drawing. Okay, now I'm going to trim out the rest, so I don't need any of this, like so. I can actually delete the rest of my circles. That's sort of like the element I'm going to transpose through. Come into the array, polar array, choose those 3 components around my center point. Okay, and if you look at the drawing, there's 8, so 4 and another 4. So and then obviously everything's offset 45 degrees. So I can put 45 degrees in, which do the 6, and if I put 8 in, it will then also do it. But again, if I put 6 in the top, it will change this for however I sort of want. So I want 8 in, 45 degrees, like so, even fill, close, and all I've got to do is come in and then just trim out the circle. Obviously you don't want to delete 44 because you have the other part. So that's this section in, 8 of those, 2 mirrored around the outside. So now it's just putting in our dimensions. So I'm just going to remove my vision layers, going to remove my centers at this stage, make sure I'm in dims, got 12, I'm going to do a linear, it's 150, because it's an ellipse you kind of want to reference this the whole way across rather than picking your construction lines, but you could just pick your construction lines if you wanted to. You just got to reference those points, which to be fair does make it look a bit neater, like so. Then I'm going to come in, choose the 12, and again I could just pick up the edge. Does make it look way more neater than anything else. Like so. Just give those points. Now I could actually put in it here to I might just turn the construction back on for that one. No, center point. That's it. So I could go here to center, which is 38. And again, just bring everything down, make it nice and neat. And what I could do now is if I put a center point in, extend that mark out slightly, so I can just match that up to the end. I'm going to change it to centre anyway. So now I'm going to reference everything. So I've got my two diameters, 50 and 44, like so. I've got a radius then of 38, 6, like so. And I could put in here if I really wanted to, just make it easy for the reader, 6 times. So 6 of them. And I could put in here a little sort of note. I could put in here sort of quantity 8, just to make it nice and easy for whoever's making this particular component. So the last one you could sort of see is there was a 45, but you don't really need to put that information in. It's just sort of extra, so you can kind of choose one point to the other, but you have to kind of build that in. So I'm just going to do another centre to centre, like so, anglia then. Bringing up 45. Make sure then that's switched back to dims, like so, and then you can obviously then go into your template. My template should do 1.5 times the scale. I don't think it's going to do 2 to 1. I think it's going to be too big here. Slightly. I suppose I could get it if I just move my dimensions around a little bit. But for me, I'm probably going to 1.5 scale. I would have thought would fit kind of nicely. So again, you can just turn off anything that you don't really want on your image. So I'm just going to do a custom scale, add a new one, 1.5 to 1, just 1.5 paper space, select that on my list, 150%, nice, and I can come in and edit everything and then output. So yeah guys, that's day 16 walkthrough.